So far, it's been straight up. So we've gone about 8K. I don't know what the vertical is, but we're heading towards a pass. It's pretty friggin' gorgeous. And hopefully, if the timing's right, at the top of it, we'll have our lunch.
I actually thought we were going to have to scamper up there.
I think we do.
No,
Hey, I'm here.
Campology, Dudley.
Yeah. Yes. My wife calls me the campologist.
Well, then what is all of that? Like, before I get into all these questions, and by the way, cheers. It's 10 in the morning, so I'm having tea with some liqueur.
Well, I'm having some coffee, but I have this ready to go. So,
Look at that.
ooh, yeah.
Great minds think alike, I'm telling you.
Eh.
Well, yeah, so you are a big YouTube celebrity. I watch your show all the time, Campology.
So I'm going to walk you through why, show you some equipment, and finally, some recipe tips.
And before I get into all of the questions, what's Campology? What started all this?
Well, interesting. It was a brain fart of my own way back when. And I say way back when. I was a police officer in another life, and I retired about 10 years ago. And after a full career, and upon my last few moments before I retired, I go, what am I going to do with my life after this? I was a big camper, loved camping. So I'm going to build a website. And this was before websites were easy to build. So I built one from scratch. It was a disaster. To the point now, several evolutions later, we're at it now. Now, the name Campology came to me in one of my long drives on the highway going to camping trips. All by myself, I'm just thinking, what's a good name? And it just popped, and it's trademarked now in Canada and the US. Not that I make any money on it.
Well, why that term?
Well, campology, it's the study of camping, the science of camping, as you wait. Ology, that's what it means, the science of or the study of. And campology. So
And you've had this YouTube channel for like 10 years. So it's amazing. But we're going to get into this, but your latest video on the Great Divide, amazing stuff. Amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank
one
you.
of your best. But who started you? Where, whatever started you interested in nature? When did this all begin?
It's been part of me since the beginning. I've got old videos of myself with my first tent leaving grade 4 kindergarten. My grandfather bought that for me. But my father was a naturalist and a science teacher. And being a teacher, we had summers off. So every summer we went camping all summer. And that was it. And every time we went for a hike or paddle, my dad was always pointing this out, pointing that out, and giving little philosophies of nature and throwing those ditties at me. And it stuck. And so it's part of who I am now.
Now here I think we see some petrified horse poo, or maybe it's actually real horse poo. Tracy, can you tell me what this is?
I can't believe you picked it up.
Well, maybe I should taste it to see if it works.
Fill your boots.
Now, I think the rebirth of my love for nature started after I became a police officer. So as a young man, I went to university. My camping life kind of disappeared. And then I got my job as a police officer. My camping life was still dormant. Then eventually I started backpacking again. It was my way to escape the trials and tribulations of police work, give me a little mental peace. And the only thing I had to worry about was Mother Nature and a buddy I was with. And what a great way to purge yourself from all the troubles you may have. So that became a therapy for me. And so I was out every second weekend somewhere, paddling or backpacking somewhere within about a 3-hour drive of Ottawa.
So that's proof that actually nature does de-stress you.
Yeah, there's all sorts of evidence now for that. But I didn't know about that evidence then. It was just something that I discovered that seemed to fit for me. So.
That's great. That's great. You're looking at your YouTube over the 10 years. You do canoe. You've done some amazing trips to Blood Vein, not the mountain. What was that big one you did out west?
Oh, I did the Blood Vein in Manitoba, but I also did the Wind River and the Thelon.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you did the Thelon.
And the Yukon as well. The Yukon as well.
Wow. So you paddle. You also had a whole bunch of short videos on the tiny trailer.
I have to say that this low point is a high point of my adventure.
Yeah,
We're traveling everywhere.
Yeah.
But majority of your videos, especially now, are very long backpacking hikes.
Woo! Despite being exhausted and dehydrated, there's still time for fun.
Right? So why backpacking compared to the others?
Well, it's my first passion out of any type of outdoor activity I have. I mean, I'm a big skier, both alpine and Nordic, biking, done tons of biking, paddling, hiking, and my wife and I have circled the continent 3 times in our RV. And interesting enough is when we circled the continent in our RV, I always had a loaded backpack ready to go. So occasionally I would say to my wife with a little twinkle in my eye, I say, do you mind if I go backpacking for a day or two?
We're also surrounded by mountains in this cool, desolate, but yet beautiful valley. Definitely salty. Oh my gosh. That's 100% salt.
Which would meant she'd have to be left in the RV by herself. She was good. She smiled and said, go for it. She knew I needed it. So I would disappear off into the mountains, wherever it may be, whether it was Texas or Arizona or California, and come back with a smile on my face, recharged.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah, and you do a lot of trips solo as well. I mean, you do have certain partners you go with, but you do a lot of solo. Which do you prefer?
That's a good question. I think I like going with people better for sure. Solo has a different charm to it, but most of my solo trips, once you get to the 3rd day, you're kind of going, I think I'll go home now. Yeah. So that being said, I'm planning the Appalachian Trail this year solo, but I don't expect to be alone the whole time. There'll be lots of people on the trail, so it's not quite the same thing as in Algonquin Park. I did a solo trip in Algonquin Park last fall, and I didn't see a single person for 3 days. I have tons of tents I've tried, tested, and own. My current favorite tent is this Z-Packs Ultraplex, so that's what I'm setting up now. There are other tents I do enjoy and do like a great deal, but as of now, this is my current fave.
Yeah, I watched that one. It was really interesting how all the sites were booked, but you didn't see anybody.
Yeah, that's another issue with Parks Ontario or Ontario Parks. I don't know why they were fully booked. The reservations were jammed, and nobody was using them. So a little frustrating, but
Yeah, well, it was bad weather when you were there. Maybe everybody was smart and you weren't. I don't know.
likely. Yeah, likely.
Oh man, it's about 7 o'clock. The sun is still not up, but my body's up, ready to go, and it is raining, and it's raining. The forecast says rain all day.
Well, you think about it. So the backpacking trips you've done, a lot of them, well, the ones that I've watched are all through hikes. So can you tell everybody the difference between a through hike and just a sort of weekend warrior thing?
Yeah. So most of my backpacking for about 40 years has been load up your backpack, try to find a buddy, and head into the backwoods somewhere, and then hike for the weekend, or maybe 3-4 days. And those are the traditional weekend warrior section hiking kind of thing, which most people do. A through hike, excuse me, I don't think there's any definition of the actual length, but some people say it has to be 100 kilometers. Some people say it has to be 900 kilometers. I don't think there is one, but it's a long hike. And the most common ones in the United States are the big three, which is the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail. And they go north-south, and they're all in the neighborhood of about 3,500 to 5,500 kilometers. I think I need some monkey shoulder. Okay, I'm going to pause that for a second. We're almost finished that, but some monkey shoulder is happening at, can we say it's 11 o'clock?
Okay, I'm almost down my tea with my Bob Ross. I show you, like, so his painting disappears when the tea goes down.
Oh, that works for me. Okay, then after my a little bit of monkey shoulder, and that's certainly a full shot. You have to throw a little bit of water in it, of course, because I'm not a barbarian.
My Lord, I gotta get a glass then. Wait, whoa.
Well, while I'm waiting for Kevin to come back with his drink, I will take this opportunity to enjoy a beverage by myself. Oh, thank you.
Cheers.
Life is tough for a campologist.
I like monkey shoulder. It's pretty good. Okay. Oh, questions. All right.
So yeah,
through
so a through hike is basically, weeks at a time, and you're in the Appalachian Trail. It's usually like 4 to 6 months. That's the average kind of person. And you stop every week or so to clean up, grab some food, then you're back onto the trail. So that's the experience of a through hiker. Now, I've done a few, but they're not as big as the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, but it's what I could access in Canada. So.
Well, yeah, because now you did the Rideau twice, actually. Why did you do it?
Yeah,
twice?
I did it in 2012. Yeah, that's about 330 kilometers, I think. It's from Ottawa to Kingston. It wiggles all through all sorts of parklands and public lands and things.
Hooker. Oh, he's got an itch.
I love the ears or the horns or.
Oh yeah, those
I can't see quite what they are yet.
Keep the flies off him.
Ah,
Holly,
cool.
she made them.
Very nice.
Yeah. Come on.
You guys are awesome. Great to see you.
Thank you. You too.
Have a
Bye.
wonderful day.
Thanks.
Bye.
now.
Yeah. And was there a reason why you did it again? Like, aren't you only supposed to do it just once?
Yeah. Well, in 2020 is when I did it a second time. And if you look at your calendar, 2020, around March the 13th, COVID kind of hit us in the face. Now, on April the 6th, I already had my flight booked to go down to the United States to hike the Appalachian Trail. That didn't happen.
Oh, man. Oh, that's too bad.
So I'm sitting there twiddling my thumbs going, what am I going to do? So I called up my buddy Crusher and I said, let's do the Rideau Trail. That'll kind of fill up some time. Good morning. Friggin' awesome morning again.
That was a good series. Now, before that, though, in fact, one of the biggest ones I enjoyed from your channel is the Bruce Trail, because I grew up along that area and then I worked in that area too. And yeah, like that's a good solid trail. How many days did that take you?
Oh. I have to look back at my videos. I think in the neighborhood of 30, 35. Anyway, yeah, so about that,
Yeah.
5 weeks kind of thing. And it's a great trail, man. It's like I've hiked all over the place, and It's second to none, really. And I expected something like an easy cakewalk, and it wasn't. There's some really nice, enjoyable hikes through there, and challenging.
Right now, we have about 2 kilometers to go till the end, and we're on the most civilized part of the trail. It's managed by Parks Canada. We've also walked by several tourist attractions, beautiful scenic lookouts, right by them, because at this point, we don't care. We're looking forward.
Averaging just a little over 30 kilometers a day. 2 good friends just blasting north from Niagara Falls to Tobermory. Despite the fact that the 890 kilometers were very grueling, both Chris and I got along well and became even better friends.
Yeah.
And you would, in your video, you showed that actually really there was a lot of natural areas along that trail. You would think that it would be just all developed, right? But no.
Yeah, no, quite amazing. I expected to be hiking in a lot of roads and so on. Frankly, I didn't research it that much. I just kind of like pointed my compass and went. And every time I turned a corner, I was just amazed how beautiful things were, and wild. So whoever the designers of it, which is, I believe, they call it the Bruce Trail Conservancy, opposed to the association, they've done a great job picking this route. It sizzles through or wiggles through all sorts of cities, but you couldn't tell because it was a beautiful, wild area. Yeah, I loved it.
And is that the trip where you met your backpacking partner that you go on a lot of trips now, Crusher? No, it's Chris, right?
Yeah, Chris is his name. Yeah.
Okay.
I tagged him Crusher and he accepted that because all the time we were on the Bruce Trail, every time we did a hike that was strenuous, so we did something that was tough, he goes, "We crushed it." Yeah.
The first part of the day was quite difficult, navigating some rocks and rock faces along the shoreline and along the cliffs. I would say, despite the fact it was difficult, the leg of the adventure that was within Bruce Peninsula National Park was the best, the most beautiful, and the most challenging. The trail itself led us down the escarpment one more time, but this time we walked towards some flats within the peninsula, and we left the shoreline for quite some time.
And if you've seen the videos, Crusher, he's a big man. He's a solid guy. So Crusher seems to fit. He's also he used to play major junior hockey too. So he's a strong athlete as well.
Yeah, I thought it was football. He looks like a linebacker.
It could be, eh? Yeah.
The one thing that you have to explain to everybody, trail names like Crusher, Dudley, Mango, was it that you met on the Great Divide?
Yeah.
So why can't canoeists have names like that? Why is it like, is it just through hikers or is it backpackers?
Well, I guess anybody can get themselves a name, but a trail name comes from the tradition. I believe it started on the Appalachian Trail for through hikers. So the way you get your name in most cases is fellow through hikers would be able to pick up on some nuances and stuff, and they tag you that, and you have an opportunity to accept it or deny it. And if you accept it, then that's your trail name until you're finished the trail or forever. So on the Appalachian Trail, you'll see by the halfway through the trail, people are referring to only the trail names. They often don't even know their real names. So it's kind of, and some of them are pretty funky. There's one guy, his name is Ball Flap, and you're gonna go, what is that all about? And it's because he had a baseball with the flap that was broken open. So they named him that. And so there's all sorts of other challenging names. What is I'm not going to go there. But so in Crusher's case, I told you why Crusher was named. I tagged that and he accepted it. And Mango, she's a big fruitie. She loves eating fruit, and mango's her favorite fruit. So it seemed like a natural fit. So that's her name. Mine was done by committee. I was getting ready to do the Appalachian Trail, and I was starting to do all sorts of stuff for my YouTube channel. And I said, I got to have a trail name so ahead of time so I can start to do it now, because I don't want to do it halfway through, because I got to get the logos done and all that stuff. So I got a bunch of my hiking buddies together, and they said, so with them, we said, what's a good trail name for me? So that's how it happened. So I kind of cheated, but it works. Now it came Dudley, hence Dudley Do Hike, from Dudley Do Right, the righteous Canadian Mountie.
Ah,
Yeah. So
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, so I'm a Canadian cop, and I like to think I'm a pretty righteous guy. So Dudley Do Hike kind of worked.
That's awesome. This is great. Now, if anybody hasn't seen your stuff, you don't take yourself that serious out there. And do you find that actually that's the norm of backpacking or through hikers, or the opposite?
I don't know. I mean, everybody's a little bit different. I think that's more the norm, though. I mean, you get some people that are pretty intense, but no, I don't think so. I think it's a pretty relaxing environment. Every once in a while, I get out there and I see somebody who's just like totally intense, but they don't backpack very long. There's three things. There's three things I would suggest that you be a good camper, and that includes paddling or backpacking. You got to have the know-how. Start out with the right gear, the know-how, how to use it, and a great attitude. So then after that, headed towards Lions Bay. Now Lion's Head. Sandpipe. That's it for this thing. And I've seen people with the first two, but their attitude is not so hearty. And, they're whining about the weather. They're whining about the bugs. They're whining about that. And eventually they say, well, I think I'm going to stay home and watch Netflix.
That's like when canoeists are like that too. The one, well, your latest one, the Great Divide. Yeah, I know. Oh, look, see though, look what happened. No paint.
It's kind of sad. It's kind of
I know. I should fill it up again. It's better with the paint on it. The Great Divide Trail. So that was unbelievable. It was an incredible trip. Like, it looked like a tough trip though. What, 36 days or more than that? It was more than 36 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was 36.
We start out our hike, and right in the middle of the trail is a big brown bear. And it's looking at us. We blow the whistle. It doesn't want to move. In fact, it starts walking towards us. So we are heading back to a secure location until the bear decides to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was tough. Now, you had to end early because the trail was closed. So
Yeah.
What was going on? Like, did a grizzly kill someone or what?
No, don't trash those poor grizzlies. They're just trying to mind their own business when they gobble up a hiker. So what happened was Jasper, which is the first real town you get to on the trip, which is about 900 kilometers in. I say real town. My respects to Coleman. But that being said, as we get to Jasper, the next part of the trail, which they call section E and F, which is the wildest but arguably the most beautiful of the whole trek, was closed. The BC Parks had closed it because of problems with flooding. So the spring had not been kind. So all the bridges were washed out, the bridges were overflown, rivers were overflown. So it was dangerous. So they chose to cut it down. And frankly, Crusher and myself, we looked at ourselves and we go, okay. After 35 days hiking the Great Divide Trail, that was fine. We'll go back. We're going to go back and finish it for sure.
That's great. The one thing I noticed too when you're doing the hike, there were some sections that were not maintained all that well. I mean, you were walking across the creek.
It's always difficult to find just the right location to cross a river. If it's too wide, it makes it difficult and it can often be deep. But if it's too narrow, the river is often flowing faster and can be more dangerous. Crusher is strong and he had 2 trekking poles. Mango is much smaller and she only had 1 trekking pole. The full force of the river was banging her on the upper parts of her thigh, disrupting her balance. Although I was working the camera, I was in a position to jump in the water and save her, if necessary. Although Mango is small, she is perhaps the strongest person I know, pound for pound.
Yeah.
In others, there was bridges. So is there sections of the trail that are maintained more than others because it's in a park, or what?
Yeah, a good chunk of the well, let's see, the Great Divide Trail has something like 5 or 6 national parks, 11 provincial parks, a whole bunch of wild areas that are preserved, and then some private properties as well. So it's all over the place, and consequently, the quality of the trails are all over the place as well. I would say a good third of it was questionable, and a good third of it was just stellar, and then another third of it was okay.
They're ready to go and fight the forest.
Good morning. Let the bushwhacking commence.
It was dangerous at sometimes in our minds. There was unmarked, wild, steep pitches. And we were thinking if we slid down the mountain here now, they wouldn't find us for a few days.
Man, it was incredible scenery though. Oh man.
Oh, yeah. I coined the concept that it was harder than expected and more beautiful than imagined.
Wouldn't it be hard then to go and do like the Rideau for the third time then after doing that?
It was an old railroad, but I forget the name of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so the railroad was actually K&P Rails.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Hey, there you go. Look it up on the internet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, the first time I did the Rideau Trail, I thought it was the best trail on the planet, because I enjoyed every moment of it. The second time I did it with Chris, I'm glad we did it. It's good, but now after doing the Great Divide Trail, it's going to be hard to hike anything else, frankly. It was possibly the worst and the best experience at the same time.
I've climbed lots of high peaks, and from this distance, Le Calotte did not look that intimidating. And in hindsight, I was very wrong. We're about halfway up Mount Coulette, and it is crazy. It took about an hour to get, what, about 300 vertical meters? That's it? Anyway, we have about 100 meters to go, and we're at the peak. But it's crazy. We're sliding up and down this hill. We take one step forward, you slide back a half a step. One step forward, slide back half a step. Wow.
But it was so rewarding and so beautiful.
Well, I also I like the idea that you meet people along the way, and it's almost like all these backpacking films you always watch, right? It's the scenery, it's the challenge, whatever, but it's also the people you meet along the way. And on that particular trip, you met a lot of really likely, or what's the term? People just like you.
Yeah. Well, when you said it that way, I can't say what I'm just about to say. They were wonderful people. No, we met not a lot of people because the trail is not well used as a through hike. There's a lot of section hikers that are doing the national parks and so on and so forth. So we met a lot of people like that, but we only met maybe, I think, about 8 other through hikers the whole trip. There were more after us for sure. And they were all just wonderful, hardy people. Just enjoyed their company, and some great conversations too. Now it's interesting, the people, if I had to put their demographics, we're only talking 8 people, so it's not like a big cross section. Highly educated, possibly a little more left-leaning politically, and hardworking, not afraid of hard work.
Is there a difference then? So if you're on that trail doing a through hike and you're with those people, and then you meet hikers that are just doing it for the day or 2 days, do you like shun them or?
No, not at all. When they find out what we're doing, like now we're in, mid British Columbia or Alberta, and they go, "Hey, where'd you come from?" We go, "Montana." Because the southern terminus of the Great Divide Trail starts at the Montana-Alberta border. So we technically touched Montana illegally, then hiked north as we went to the Great Divide Trail. So they looked at us and said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, we're doing the thing called the Great Divide Trail." And not a lot of people know what it is. So the next inevitable question was, well, what's that all about? And then they were quite amazed, and tons of questions and smiles on their faces. It was quite good.
That's great. I know for the Bruce Trail, you don't really have to sign into anything, and I think it's free to hike. The Rideau was free to hike. Was the Great Divide Trail the same, or did you have to register for it?
No, there's no registration, and it's free to hike, but it's not free to camp. Now, that is one of the biggest challenges. I know the people that are managing the Great Divide Trail Association is trying to work on with the national parks and the various provincial parks to try to get some type of system so that the through hikers can camp in their grounds. As it is now, the three of us put an itinerary together with our anticipated campsites all along the way for 35 days or so. And then so 20 days in the hike, we had to camp at that spot. And so if we missed a campsite somewhere in the first 20 days, you're off kilter, out of sync the whole way, and we wouldn't have our campsites where we're supposed to be. It's not a good system, and it's very difficult. Consequently, Crusher and myself, Mango ended up hiking on her own for the last part of the trip. But Crusher and myself, we were hiking 12-hour days pretty much every day to make sure we stayed on course.
I gotta say, it was hilarious. Where's Mango? Where did she go? Like, it was near the end. Basically, you just made slight comments of like, Mango's not here right now, and all of a sudden Mango was there. And yeah, so I guess you were leapfrogging, or?
Well, Mango hiked at a different pace than Chris and I. She would sleep a little longer, and she generally hiked about the same distance as us, but she sometimes lagged behind, would stay maybe 5 hours behind or whatever the case may be. And she's a photographer as well. So she warned us at the very beginning of this through hike when we were a team that she might lag behind because she likes taking photographs at her own pace. So that was mostly who Mango was. She's a photographer who'd like to hike at her own pace, but she found other people to hike with as well.
Good morning, Crusher. Good morning. Another beautiful day. Morning, Mango.
Good morning.
Anything you want to say?
I'm still sleeping.
We also stayed in touch with our GPS in-reach system. So we knew she was safe and sound because Chris and I are a little paternal. We wanted to make sure she was safe. So it was all good.
Great. That's great. Now, the huge difference, I was watching some of your older backpacking videos, the one in Killarney, that's holy jumping, that must have been in the 70s. But you look at the gear that you had then compared to the gear you have now. And I got to say, you're talking a quarter of the size of what you had, 20 years ago.
Oh yeah,
so,
for sure.
Is that because you're doing more through hiking, or is that because you're getting smarter, or what?
I think it's more because I'm getting smarter, but also the equipment's evolved as well. I mean, an example that you and I would both appreciate was Gore-Tex when it was first developed. Is about the same time we were first getting into our camping. It was Gore-Tex was this new and exciting thing, and we all had to have it because it was so wonderful. And there's been so many other fabric advances and tent designs and backpack designs and stuff that have changed. But here's the thing. I was always lighter than the average person. Most people were carrying 50 pounds back then. I was carrying like 40. Woo, yeah, I thought I was a star carrying 40 pounds. So one backpacking trip, I was with my wife, and I was carrying more than I probably should have, being the husband and the guy. And I was stepping over a rock. I wasn't using trekking poles, and I twisted my knee and I tore my meniscus. I could hear it pop at the time. And I've since had surgery. It's been repaired, but my knee's never been the same. And it's because I was not using trekking poles, and I was carrying way too much. So guess what I do now? I carry much less, and I always use trekking poles. And you're talking a really light pack. What's the weight of that? It's not even 20 pounds. Well, you got it. That's insane. So this isn't the same one I used on the Great Divide Trail. I'm experimenting with a new model, but it's very similar. So this is the one I'm shortlisting for the Appalachian Trail this year, and it's about 35 liters, and I'll be carrying around 12 pounds maybe. And and maybe as high as 20 pounds if I have big food and water carries. And so
Okay, well, let's get to the food, because my partner Christine, she loves your show too. And she goes, you have to ask him this question because she can't understand this cold soaking and no stove thing.
So I cold soak and rehydrated my delicious noodles and cheese for dinner, and then just relaxed beside the water and watched the sunset.
Explain to people what that is and why. Like why?
Well, it's so funny because people who haven't done it, they're all amazed, and they always say the term something like this, cold and sloppy or cold and soggy or something like this. And there's a couple advantages to it and some disadvantages as well. The advantages is it's lighter and easier. And I'm an inherently lazy guy. It's just so easy. I pull into my camp at the end of the day and my food's ready. I chow it down. I can pull into my tent and I'm good to go. No cooking, no worrying about animals or sense of making your food smell delicious for the bears in the neighborhood. You just eat it and then good to go. And then I make my breakfast at that same time in the same cold soak jar. So any leftover food will be part of my breakfast. I put my oats in my other things, stir it up, put some water in. And then in the morning, it's good to go. Usually about an hour down the trail, I'm eating my breakfast.
Well, what about hot coffee in the morning?
I don't do coffee.
What?
That being said, my friend Crusher, he needs his coffee in the morning, like so many of us. And he uses just a packs of instant coffee made by some company that rhymes with ducks. And he mixes that. He usually adds a little bit of powdered milk, puts it in his water bottle, shakes it up, and then just drinks a cold latte in the morning. In fact, I fall in love with Backpacker Pantry, endorsing a company. And so I've tested all their stuff for cold soaking, and most of it just works awesome. In fact, I like it better cold soaking than actually cooking the traditional way in the bag. It seems to hydrate better.
Canoeists always call backpackers the largest portage ever created, right? So, but mind you, you're doing like a 12-pound pack. That's pretty good. Are they different people, a canoeist and a backpacker? Would you say that there's a different character?
It's hard to say. I do know my canoeing buddies are different than my backpacking buddies. And, often you can get away with things canoeing that you can't backpacking. For instance, carrying extra things, your conditioning, maybe you can get away with a little less conditioning. And you can do all sorts of luxurious things that you can't really do backpacking. So it's a different kind of animal. I like them both tremendously. But there's something charming about backpacking, certainly solo. I get a little nervous solo canoeing because of the water hazards and so on, but I don't mind backpacking solo.
And are you more immersed in the wilderness on a backpacking trip than a canoe trip, you think, or not?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, like you probably appreciate some of the nicest things is paddling down a river. You get to see the shorelines, and then the animals come out to visit you and all sorts of things. And backpacking, you very rarely see animals because you're making so much noise through the trail that they're long gone by the time you get to them. So if you're looking to look for animals, like, I don't know, I one trip I was in Algonquin paddling, and I think I saw like 20 moose. And I've only ever seen 2 moose ever backpacking.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would say paddling a river trip is like a backpacking trip. It's linear. You have to, only problem is you have to deal with shuttles, but really you do sort of follow a storyline, and that's why I really like your channel too, because the Bruce Trail, there's a storyline. The Great Divide, really great storyline. And you were almost feeling like you were on the trip with you guys, right? So
thank you.
So
Yeah,
I
that was
really
my
enjoyed
intent.
that. Yeah. I mean, not that I would ever go, because you cold soak your food, for the love of God. Oh man. All right, I got a couple of questions. Obviously I didn't keep the script at all. I never do this. But so we talked about Chris, we talked about cold soy. Oh yes. How has backpacking changed over the last 2 decades or 3 decades you've been doing it?
So I've been doing it since the 80s. So how How's backpacking changed? I guess this is a question. Let's regroup my brain.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, how about
So-
this though? Not backpacking, but backpackers. How have they changed over the last 4 decades?
I'm digesting it, and I'm thinking mostly equipment. I mean, the attitudes of the average backpacker, you have to be hardy to be able to get through, because you're working hard all day long and you're doing long distances. Now, because you've got lighter, possibly better designed equipment now, you're able to travel further distances without the fatigue that you did in the past. I know that before I was traveling 15 kilometers in a day, and I'm going, wow, that's enough. And I occasionally would get up to 25 kilometers a day, and I go, I'm a rock star. Now, 25 kilometers a day is my small days, and I'm much older than back then. So I think it's a lot to do with better shoes, better footwear, maybe better conditioning, but certainly better gear. I mean, when you're carrying 20 pounds versus 50 pounds, that's a big difference. And frankly, 20 pounds is my top end. Generally, I'm closer to 12. You know, my gear, all my gear is around 10, and then an extra 2 pounds for your food. I'm talking weekend warrior stuff, right? And if you're going for 5 days, you might have to go up to 15, 17 pounds.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, all right, I got some really important questions here that I forgot about. What's your best privy you've ever met along the trail?
Hi, Tracy. How's your experience here?
It's a little open. A little worried about what's going to come crawling out of the rocks beside me.
This is amazing.
I can honestly say I've never been in a bathroom like this, ever.
The best privy. Oh man, there's so many of them. Of course, all the thunder boxes in Ontario are wonderful. They're all great. I saw one thunder box. Where was it? Where was it? In Algonquin, where the top was gone. So someone used old birch bark to put on the top of it. That worked out pretty good. But I think Parks Canada has some of the most innovative ones. I was so amazed on this last trip. There was one that was on stilts that would have been probably about 10 feet high. And underneath the stilts were these giant barrels. So they would remove the stuff. They wouldn't just move the privy to another location and bury the hole. They would actually remove the nastiness that humans left behind. It was great. And there was one in Jonas Creek, which was three privies all beside each other with the barrels underneath it. So you'd have to sit beside your best friend. I don't know. That's not something I would enjoy. I appreciate a good privy in the backwoods. You don't have to dig your hole. You don't have to worry about the environmental stuff. So thank goodness for these parks that are doing this. So
What's the best song that's in your head while you're doing like a 30-kilometer day?
Oh, I don't know. You know what? I generally don't listen to music on the trail, and I'm a big music guy. It's just not part of me. Now, interesting enough is this is what I was trying to do when I go with my friend Crusher, because we've done thousands of kilometers together. Is all morning we go no electronics. We just enjoy the moments, have some good conversations. And in the afternoon, if one of us raised our hands, we've had enough, we throw on music or a podcast or something. And in my case, I usually listen to a podcast. So
That's interesting. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this is the ultimate question. I really thought a lot on this one. 3 movies, you only get to choose one. Walk in the Woods, Wild, or The Away.
Walk in the Woods, Wild, and
The Away.
oh, The Way.
Oh, The Way. Not Away. The Way. The Way. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like them all. It's funny because Walk in the Woods, Chris and I were going through the Great Divide Trail, and we show up at a campsite and we introduce ourselves, and we're 2 guys that are in our 60s. And they go, "Hey, you're just like the guys in Walk in the Woods." And I go, "Can I be Robert Redford?" You know, I really like that movie as well. But there's something about the way that the family dynamics, the father and the son. I like that. Not to give that away
Good
to anybody
storyline,
else
yeah.
who's watching it. I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, my partner and I, we binge watched your Great Divide video series, and then right after that watched The Way, and forgot how great that movie was, because it was all to do with the people they met along the way and the characters and everything that was going on. And that's similar to what was going on your Great Divide. So it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't as charming as the people in the way, and we don't make as much money as Martin Sheen, but I think we're pretty darn good.
I just have that image though of walking the woods. You are Robert Redford and Chris is the other guy.
Cats.
Oh man, I can't get that out of my head now. Well, cheers, sir. I love your channel. I love what you've been doing for the last 4 decades. And I'm more of a canoeist and a backpacker, but I got to tell you, it's still getting out there is the most important thing. So,
hey, cheers to you too, man. Good times.
How's my hair?
Your hair looks awesome. Awesome. Very styling.
Good hair day?
Good hair day. The trail just disappeared into the river. So we are now bushwalking again through all sorts of nasty stuff here. Anyway, it is what it is. Onward, forward.